Mounting your shocks. This is very important. Without this, your truck will just all the way down the road. It'll suck. Unless you air it all the way up and then it rides hard. You don't want it to ride hard. That's why you put airbags on it. Alright, there's a space right there. That's where you're going to fit it. Because your wheel turning doesn't hit this. That's your brake line. You don't want it to hit your brake line. You don't want to really move your brake line. So, see that? I put a bungee on it. Figure out a way to squish it down and hold your shock where it's supposed to be held. If your shock does not have to be held when it's squished all the way down, you need new shocks. That's all there is to that. The top is just a hole mount, and the bottom is the bolt mount. So, I measured it. Oops. Let me look at this. Okay, I measured it, and I've got 2 inches between the brake mount, the brake line mount, and my upper control, or my upper bag mount. Yeah. All right, now, so the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to take a piece of plate. This is the lower control arm. I'm going to take a piece of plate, and I'm going to weld it to the bottom of this, and it's going to stick straight out, and that's what I'm going to mount my shock to. Okay. So my shock is going to be angled out, and I want it straight up and down, so it'll flow with the lower control arm. I'm having problems here. Can you tell? So it'll mount up here at the top, right there, and it'll go down to the bottom. Now, I have it jacked all the way up because I need to know where it bottoms out at. You don't want your shock bottoming out. Your shock bottoms out, it's going to hold you off the ground. You've done all this work to reach the ground. Don't mess it up. I'm tired. I'm irritable. I think I'm having my monthly. I need a tampon. Ooh, no, wait a minute. I want a pad. What the fuck am I going to do with a tampon? Alright, so that's what you're doing with that. So I got to make a plate. The plate comes out. I measured from one side of the lower control arm to the other side and out to where it's even with that, your brake line. And that's 11 inches. So I'm going to cut it off at 11 inches, and I got to make a hole for this to mount into. Let's jump over here before I run out of time. Okay. You have your shock 2 inch and a half, or it's what, like 2 inches by 2 inches square. You're going to cut a hole out 3 inches wide. There's my, see, I'll measure back 11 inches, and I'll cut it off over there at 11 inches. But this way, now I got to drill holes so I can mount these into, because see, these are going to move when it's going up and down. So you have to have a place to mount it to. So now I'm going to go drill these holes. Alright, I got the holes drilled, as you can see there. So now my shock will be able to fit in there. I'll show you that right now. Boom. See, it's like magic. And so see, there it goes. And you put your bolt holes in there, and then that way this will be able to swivel with the metal. One more thing I did was I went ahead and welded that onto the back for added support. Not that this is going to need it, but just in case. The shock tower is 2 pieces. I have to cut this piece, and then this will be up like this, and then this piece will weld onto this right there like that. Okay, and then I'll drill a hole right about there, right in the top corner is where that'll be. Once all that's welded together and that's put together, it'll look a little something like this. Let me get down here. So that'll weld up like that, it'll be like that, and then that cross one will be welded to the bottom of the lower control arm. See there? You weld it on that side, and I welded it on that side so that it has proper support all the way across. The shock actually goes straight up and down. There's very little clearance. And like I said, the shock is straight up and down, so it's more effective that way. That way, Upper control arm can move, and you've got it bolted together. Before you do it, it looks a little bit like this one over here. See how it's all cleaned up, ready to accept that shock in there. Well, hopefully this will help you guys in making your shock mounts, relocating your shocks and putting them in. And then there's very little room in there, so make sure you measure, put your tire on, wiggle it back and forth. 'Cause I did that. I put the bottom on, I welded it in, and then I grabbed my tire and I went to turn it, and it ran right into the lower shock mount. I was like, oh crap. So I had to take it off and put it all back together. So measure, turn your wheels back and forth, make sure everything is set up the way it's supposed to. You have very little room for error. And if you have error, then you're going to run into it and you're going to break things. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. Comment down at the bottom if you think I've left anything out. Helpful tips and hints for other people, and get them straightened out so everybody can enjoy having their mini truck. With this being done, now the front end of my truck's done. All I got to do is go back through and grind down some of the little things and clean it up and then paint it and make it look a little bit prettier than what it does. I'm going to buff my truck out. I'm going to a show called MSA. It's a Motorsports Authority car show next weekend. That'll be on the 2nd. What's that? January, February, March, April, June 2nd. June 2nd in Conway, Arkansas. It's the MSA show. You can look it up online. MSA, Motorsports Authority. They are on Facebook. They're on the internet. And you can find this show if you care to go to it. It's like, I think it's like $32, something like that, to enter, and then $5 for spectators if you just want to come out and look at it. Well, I'm stuttering. I'm talking too fast. Anyway, there we go. Subscribe, comment, give me a thumbs up. I forgot to say that. Thank you. Later.